On this episode of Lapeef, Let's Talk.
Yeah, how you gonna have a whole conversation about men not wanting to be married and then call independent women toxic? It is such a like boxed in question. It is ridiculous. I don't even know
JR.
how to begin to address. No, I'm not done because y'all
Your
have
tone
y'all
your
moments
tone
to
does
explain
sound
yourself.
problematic.
I'm gonna explain myself.
That is kind of a problematic tone that you're presenting with.
Yeah, I'm presenting a problematic tone. These old ridiculous ass questions.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next topic. Are independent women toxic? Are independent women toxic? B Nix.
I don't know. I want to say no, but you got to give me more than that. It's like, all right, they're independent, so that's a bad thing and stuff, you know? Like, hell, somebody married could be toxic. I just said that in the last show. Like, it's I don't know. I don't know. Give me something else. Can you give me like a scenario or something?
I mean, just thinking about a woman that's, paved her own way.
Okay.
She has her own success. She
Okay.
has her own money. She really don't need anything from a male whatsoever. She's focused. She's determined. She probably had a point to prove at some point in time in her life. And now comes the dating aspect. Now let's say she's about 27.
Okay.
She's lived her life. She's gone through a whole phase. She's ready to.
Wait, what? Say that? Wait, run that back.
I said she's gone through a whole phase. Now she's looking to kind of, settle down. She probably had some guys that.
So college,
that,
basically.
yeah, college.
Right.
So now she's ready to establish herself as far as when it comes to being involved into serious relationships. And it could be troubling sometimes for different reasons. So my question was, are independent women toxic? Just put yourself in that situation. You got a strong-minded woman.
Uh-huh.
She's independent. She's been getting it on her own. So it kind of takes away from what the guy brings to the table. Can the guy bring anything to the table? We don't know. But dating this woman, is an independent woman toxic?
Did she wear gray leggings?
Occasionally.
Right, let me stop.
Like occasionally. Like when it's time to work out, she go to the gym. She put on those gray leggings.
No, I'm talking about like out to the gym, just to go to the store. One of them.
It's a possibility.
All right. Anyway, but you know what? I don't want to call that toxic, but I can see it being problematic pending the type of guy that is also very kind of strong-minded and strong-willed. I feel that, the traits that you mentioned, okay, yeah, you could call it whatever you want. I could just call it I want to say, shit, that's just being an adult, let alone just being independent. Like, you're an adult. You should be doing that anyway. But if that is the case, JR, since that's the scenario, the only way I could see it being not toxic, but I could see it being an issue if a man already has an idea of what type of woman he may want, and it becomes this level of friction. Because I think that going back to roles in the relationship, that still we do live in a society, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but women want men to lead. But the thing is, if I'm a woman and I'm very independent, I'm strong-minded, I'm what you say, a alpha personality or whatever it's called. The thing is, then it could be something like,
You know what it's called.
all right, I can see there being a level of friction, but I'm not going to say it's toxic. I don't know. I just think that it could be like confrontational, because you have to find someone that is your match. And a lot of times your match may not necessarily be an equal, maybe more of a who complements you. So I don't know. I don't even know if I'm answering your question properly, but I mean,
No, you answer it. You answer it up in your opinion. It's
yeah, I
good.
think it depends if you find somebody that's able to be your equal, but a complementary equal. Like two of the same doesn't work out. Two of the same types.
Tawana, do you feel as though independent women are toxic? I'm not talking about you. I know you're independent, but just And
I don't
it could
care
be
what who are you talking about?
Oh,
Any
hey, so
independent
it means
woman
it's
in the
toxic
world.
then, right?
That's
Right.
Based on
ridiculous.
the criteria.
Listen,
Oh, you about to have
how
Tawana
is
come through that little square she talking
how is
about.
a focused, educated, driven, self-directed, self-motivated woman toxic to anybody in this world? Absolutely not. Okay, having an education, being self-motivated, making sure you take risks, you are decisive, you can do things on your own, and actually, men are not even prepared to deal with a woman who's completely dependent on her,
Oh,
on him. A man cannot even
tell her how
handle
you feel, Tawana.
a man
Go
cannot
ahead.
even handle a woman who is completely dependent on him. Not in this day and age. You guys cannot even deal with that stress. So yeah, you need a woman who got a little sense, who can make decisions for herself, who knows how to think. And being independent has absolutely nothing to do with your ability to partner in a relationship and your ability to work with someone. Because independent women work in teams. We are leaders. We have a variety of topics, okay, or a variety of roles. And so this whole an independent woman is toxic is the entire reason why this whole how you gonna have a whole conversation about men not wanting to be married and then call independent women toxic? It is such a boxed in question. It is ridiculous. I don't even know how to begin to address. No, I'm not done because y'all
Your
have
tone,
y'all
your
moments
tone
to
does
explain
sound
yourself.
problematic.
I'm gonna explain.
That is kind of a problematic tone that you're presenting with.
Yeah, I'm presenting a problematic tone for these old ridiculous ass questions.
Yeah.
I heard somebody in the background cracking up.
I
Who
don't
was
know.
that?
This does seem
Because
like this could be a difficult relationship.
your questions imply that it's something wrong with being independent. It is ridiculous to even make an assumption that you cannot be an independent thinker, an independent person out here, and that it's somehow problematic to this environment.
That part,
this
JR,
is crazy to me.
That part is toxic. That part.
Oh man, yeah,
No. Toxic is the most overused word in America, and you know that.
Not
and
in this
now
instance.
we always want to ascribe
Anton.
everything and prescribe
Not in
everything
this
to being
instance.
toxic.
Anton, I want to ask you that same
after
question.
This conversation now, Tawana, like, hey, seem like kind of intense. I don't know if I can handle this type of relationship to deal with all of that. You know what I mean? Like,
well, you know what?
Anton.
Y'all did not bring no,
Hold on, Tawana.
little chick on this show.
See, Tawana's
Okay.
still being
So y'all
Hold on,
gotta
Nix.
do
Hold on,
for
Nix.
her.
Hold on, Nix. Hold on, Nix.
Tawana.
Keep it rolling. Anton,
independent
all right.
self.
Are independent women toxic?
I don't think that independent women are toxic. I think that when women wear their independence as a cape, it becomes toxic. And so I heard a good example over the weekend. When you asked the question, it reminded me. Now I come into the podcast, I try to come in like completely blind and not looking at the subjects because it allows me to have fresh thoughts. But I remember I was watching this video over the weekend, and the guy was talking about how his teacher, when he was coming up, was trying to push feminism and compare roles within the household by asking each individual student, and we talking about little kids, right? Asking each individual students who's in charge of the household and all of these different things. And he gave the analogy really well. He broke it down. He says, listen, I'm not looking for somebody to be me. I'm looking for somebody that does other things well, and there's nothing wrong with us having different roles. He said, if we were on a sinking ship and I'm holding up this pipe right here and I'm trying to do it, and then there's something else that you can do to prevent the sink from shipping, but you over here saying, well, I can lift up the pipe too. He said, that doesn't help us from sinking in the ship. He said, the goal is to prevent the ship from sinking, not to compare who can hold up the pipe the longest. And so what I thought that was a great way to break it down, in that there's nothing wrong with women being independent, but it becomes toxic when it's almost like when I look at it like the LGBTQ community, when they have to highlight the fact that they are gay. It's like, I don't go around saying I'm heterosexual. I just like who I like. Like if I wound up liking guys and you never knew that, I wouldn't have a problem with you not knowing that I like guys. You know what I'm saying? So I don't like guys. But the point that I'm making is that, you don't have to wear it as a flag. And the difference is that when it becomes assertive and women become overly aggressive and stubborn as it relates to trying to champion how independent they are, it becomes toxic because guys don't like hypermasculinity. They like feminism. They like, or not feminism, they like femininity. They like women that are women. They like soft. They like to feel on something. They don't want, if they wanted to be with another man, then they would be with another man. They're not looking for that. Overwhelming majority of guys that I know, they're looking for a woman to be a woman. And so you don't have to bring that in every setting that you go to. I don't even have to bring like a hyper level of masculinity in every set. Sometimes, you know, my chick will be like, yo, you know, I just want to lay with you or whatever like that. Like, it don't have to be always strong or whatever. And that's where the toxicity comes in a relationship. We don't need you to wear it as your flag. Just be normally you, and then we can figure it out as we go. You don't have to champion it in every single thing that we well, I'm my own woman. I can pay my own. Okay, I didn't even ask you all of that. All right, we just on a date. I don't need you to compare who can pay the bill first. Like, just chill. Let's just have a good time.
B Nix, do independent women know how to allow a man to lead?
I can see it being an issue because I think that, you know, nothing wrong with being independent, but it's one of those, like, you know, not to give another car example, but only one person can drive at one time, right? So the thing is, like, who's gonna be the differential person based on the situation? And I think that I think sometimes people struggle with that, you know, and not to say, like, I think Anton gave some solid examples about what men may want as far as, you know, I think you said solve some affectionate, somebody supportive, and not to say it's like that all the time, but the thing is, like, I think there's a level of a stereotype that I think that's associated with an independent woman that can be great, but also on the flip side of that same coin, it could be viewed negatively, where it's like this person won't allow the man to be a man. And I think I've seen, like, a few situations where someone is a very independent woman and very strong, very, you know, on a, you know, about her business and whatever like that. But then the man is not the man per se. Pretty much he's just taking orders and stuff, you know. So the thing is, I feel like it has to be a balance. But I have seen cases where an independent woman is running the relationship, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I feel for some men it becomes like this power struggle, you know, like, because it's like this war, this waging within the relationship of, like, who's top dog, for lack of better words. And the thing is, unless you got a relationship where, like, y'all willing to coexist, some people gonna be like, man, hey, I don't respond to that, you know. Because the thing is, you got to think about how somebody may receive somebody that's independent. I'm not saying that if you're an independent woman, you gotta, like, dumb yourself down or make yourself docile or anything like that. But if you're dating a particular man, some man may see a threat in that. Like, think about, like, just small things that may be viewed as a threat to men, like height. You know, there's some people that have a threat with height if a woman is taller than them. You know what I'm saying? And it's silly, but these are things that are very real. That there are certain things that men, and not to say, and Tawana, I know you laugh and make it seem like men are these fragile creatures and stuff.
Now I'm losing a lot of respect for this whole idea of manhood. If you can allow someone to take your manhood away, if you can say to me that a woman can make you not be a man anymore, I don't care who it is. I don't care what type of woman. She could be a macho, you know, Meg the Stallion type, 6 feet tall type woman. Can't nobody take my manhood away from me if I'm like, can't no woman, ain't nobody take my womanhood.
Anton
my
said those are
in this
simps.
world.
Last
No,
show, you know what I mean? He said
that's some weak stuff.
So
that's weak.
The simp does exist. That's why we still use the terminology.
But I'm gonna tell you right now that if a woman can take your manhood, you got bigger issues than just a man, an independent woman being in your life.
It may not be an issue. It may not be an issue in that relationship. So the thing is, like, hey, and then what we say, to each his own, right then, Tawana? So the thing is, it's one of those, like, hey, it happens. But I think that sometimes there are men that
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you another example, which I might be going off script, JR, but it's one of those, like, I was just talking to my homegirl about this, where, I'm always going to go with a workplace example. Like, hey, in the workplace, some men don't like to receive directives from women, right? And the thing is, this is kind of a byproduct of that same thing. Because then you can say, like,
Absolutely.
oh, yeah, she's an independent woman. She runs the company. She's the CEO. That sounds fucking awesome. But then you got that one person in that department be like, "Man, who she thinks she is? Telling me I'm late." But you're late, though. So the thing is, some men, like, so don't act like it's not real. There are men out there that truly are not comfortable with receiving, and I won't say directives, because then it makes it seem like a relationship is like a job, but they're not willing to receive the person, the delivery of information between a relationship from that woman because of her level of independence. So it goes back to, like, hey, you need to get a man that, like, going back to weight class, right? Hey, you need to get somebody in your weight class. If this ain't it, then why entertain it? If this person can't handle you. And that same thing for a man. If you got a woman that's weak, that's not independent or not strong, or you do want someone that's more soft and more affectionate, go get that. But don't entertain and waste somebody else's time knowing that you ain't the right fit. And that's the thing. We stay in relationships a lot of times too long because we're thinking that we're just going to try to make it work. I'm gonna just kind of change who I am. If you got to change who you are, then that means that you shouldn't even be in a relationship if you can't be you. And guess what? People are miserable because of the fact that they felt they changed themselves for this person and it's not being appreciated.
Hey, Anton, does a strong woman with a strong man know how to listen?
Say that one more time, JR.
Does a woman with a strong man know how to listen?
I think a lot of times it could be difficult because my grandmother,
yeah, they too strong-minded,
was one of them type of women, and a lot of times she would tell me, like, she would have the conversations, and the conversation wouldn't necessarily be, yo,
too strong,
I'm actually
too
trying
strong.
to have the conversation, because the conversation is both things: is me listening to you and then responding.
I'm happy to listen to y'all, though.
And then you listening to me and responding back. It's a two-way street. But she would often say to me, Anton, I already know the answer. I already know what needs to be said. I'm just waiting on them to get to the point to where they'll receive what it is that I'm going to say. So in that instance, right, that is very much a stubborn mentality. And so nobody wants to be with, and I'm not even going to just spin it just from a woman's perspective, right? Nobody wants to be with somebody that is just stubborn 100% of the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can all know what we know. You can be an expert plumber, and I can be an expert electrician, but we got to work together to put this house together, fam. And just because you're a plumber don't mean, you're a master plumber, does not mean that you know how to wire this house up. So I think that women that are that headstrong, right, that are too headstrong, often at times find themselves by themselves. You have to have a level of submissiveness on both sides, but we speaking specifically to women. You have to have a level of submissiveness to your partner in order for you to be able to enable them to have some level of dignity, power, say so. If I know that this guy is putting his house together, right, and I feel like I know a better way to do it, to let him be able to say what he want to say, and to be able to express how he feels about because it may be a better idea than mine, but that automatic headstrong, I don't want to hear nobody, I already know the answer, this is what I want. You don't even know what you don't know what you don't know yet. None of us do. I feel like I know a lot now, but I know that I'm going to be a lot wiser 10 years from now, but it's all going to be based off of experiences and lifestyles and interacting with people, and them giving me insight into things that I don't already know. But if I approach the situation already feeling like I know everything, what's the point of us having a conversation? That relationship becomes a dictatorship. It's not even a relationship no more. It's you telling me what I need to do in order for me to feel like fulfill whatever this thing is that you have in your mind of what a man is supposed to be. Nobody wants to be with a woman like that. I would say calm way down. be really relaxed and get the heck up out of there if you're a guy in that type of situation. Don't subject yourself to any woman, no matter what her circumstance is, no matter how fine she is, no matter how bad she is. Get the heck up out of there, bro. It's bad women that's single every single day.
Hey, Tawan, I'm going to shoot a response to Anton's point, and then I'm going to ask you that same question. Let's just say, for example, that he used was building a house. If you're building a house and the man has some insight on how to build a house, but you already have set in your mind because you're stubborn about how the house should be built, like the woman's not listening. Like women that are strong-minded, like it's a problem because they don't want to listen.
I think that's completely absurd. I will say one thing about independent women is that they're typically very intelligent women, very smart women. They know how to communicate very clearly. They know how to listen. And so I think that all of the statements that we said is problematic. And so here's the thing, when you start calling independent women stubborn and you start labeling independent women as other things, and when you start to say negative things about being independent as opposed to embracing that positivity, because all of the things that you're saying about these characteristics are not necessarily characteristics of independent women. So these are two separate ideas and two separate people that we're talking about. And so for us to be saying that because a woman is independent, she's rude, she's disrespectful, she's bossy, she can't partner with someone, she is unreasonable and unable to be in a successful relationship is problematic, because that's absolutely not true. And it's not true in a lot of different ways. And I don't believe that that's the same type of woman. And so if you want to subscribe these characteristics to independent women and being independent, I'm not for that. But if you want to talk about women who are disrespectful to their men, cool. I will not say that those women are independent women who basically just have, don't need a man. Really what independence means is that you can support yourself, that you are completely okay with providing your own life, taking care of your responsibilities, and you don't need a man to do that for you. That is all independent means. And nothing is wrong with getting an education, learning, having your career, working hard to get to a place where you can do those things for yourself. And it has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not you can partner and respect a man in your life. Do you have to tolerate certain behavior? No. Do you have to tolerate a man, doing things that you necessarily wouldn't deal with, like cheating and, doing all these other, you don't have to tolerate that. So you may actually be like, I'd rather just kind of live by myself. I can take care of myself. Like, I guess if you're dependent on a man financially, then maybe you have to tolerate certain behavior because you have no choice. But when you have a choice and you're like, well, I like you and I want to have you in my life and we communicate well and we work well together. But if you can't respect my boundaries and we don't have boundaries that we both, have in place, you don't want me to cheat on you, so you can't cheat on me. Like, then maybe a woman will decide that she don't want to be in that relationship anymore. But to say that a woman who is independent is stubborn and can't take direction and can't listen and don't have a sense of partnership and how to coexist with a man is just ridiculous. So yeah, that's what I felt. That's what I think about those comments.
You think about the thing about it, JR, is that, and I think that even B Nix would agree with this, is that I never said that independent women are toxic. I said independent women that carry that as a cape, it can create an toxic environment. So that's one of the things that I'm emphasizing right now, is that an inability to be able to hear things clearly is what creates a toxic environment. Even me having to go back and backtrack and say, yo, I didn't even say that. This is what I really said. And
well, I was responding to JR. in his comment. I was not responding to specifically what you said. JR asked me a follow-up question. I thought it was relevant for me to talk to me, to speak to my position. And I don't think that you can have any label on any woman and say what a woman who acts a certain way and think a certain way can't be with somebody, because that's totally false. And,
why can't I mean,
and
you
there's
can do the
a lot
same
of
thing.
different men out here in this world who loves the independent woman. And as I stated before, you men cannot even handle a woman that's completely dependent on you for everything.
But see, you just did it though. I mean, you just did the very thing that you said that men shouldn't do. You just labeled men and said men can't. A lot of men can't even handle it. Like that's labeling them. When you say that, when you say something like, the very thing that you're preaching against is the same thing that you're saying that we shouldn't do, is what I'm saying.
What I'm preaching against is labeling women that are independent.
We can label them because y'all labeled yourselves that. That's not something y'all made a whole song. You know, Beyonce championed it. Like y'all labeled yourselves. All we did was take what you labeled yourself and addressed it. So we're not labeling
that we don't listen to men, and that we're stubborn, and that we can't partner.
No, what we're
all
saying
the women
is,
who pay your own bills, throw your hands up. What's wrong with a woman paying her own bills and maybe she's making sure she's secure in life and making
sure nobody,
she take care of herself?
Even JR, neither myself nor JR ever said that there's anything wrong with a woman paying her own bills. What we said was using that as a way to champion yourself and to compare yourself to men in that way is what makes it toxic, because it creates a conversation that's unnecessary. We don't have to even have a conversation about whether or not you're paying your own bills because nobody brought it up.
No woman who pays her own bills and who's independent has to brag about that. It's just not even something. It's like, this is what I do.
So why bring it up?
My normal life.
Why'd you bring it up then? So why'd you bring it up?
Well, this is JR's topic. I probably would never speak about being an independent. I'm just saying, I'm just going to speak to it because let me just say this. Like, I am 10 years in my career. I've done a great job. I got my education. I went to further my education. I got certifications and I'm super proud of it. And I will never actually, try to negate that or pretend like I'm less than just because everyone else has an opinion about independent women. I'm just going to say this, that I feel that I have been in very successful relationships and I just don't agree with that. And I do think that I'm open to listening to what my partner has to say. And I think a lot of independent women, we want to hear what our partners have to say. The reason why we partner with people is because we want their opinion and we want to be a teammate with them.
But I got a newsflash for you though. I got a newsflash for you though. If you're in a relationship, you're not independent anymore. You're codependent. So we can throw that whole label out the window.
Yeah.
Like, you're not still independent. Let's stop acting like you are. I'm not talking about you specifically.
No, I believe that. I'm not saying, and listen, I don't want to specifically talk about my life and how I'm living things. I do want to speak to just that situation. But yeah, if you're in a relationship, you clearly have demonstrated. And I don't know if, I've ever been outside of a relationship and I can really speak to it. But I'm just saying that I have experience, paying my own bills and taking care of myself and supporting myself. And I don't think that that's any indication that I'm not able to listen to a man and respect, his opinion and partner with someone. But am I going to tolerate any kind of disrespect, abuse, and anything else and less than what I feel like I deserve as a woman who have established herself, who can take care of herself? No, I'm not. And it is nothing wrong with it. I'm just not going to tolerate that.
Hey, B Nix, I wanted you to close us out, and I want you to also answer this question. Are independent women too aggressive?
No, but I think Anton mentioned this point, I think twice now, about like being, I guess, boisterous on how you wear it as a cape can be a divider, So the thing is, there's nothing wrong with being independent. I mean, all jokes aside, I don't think it's necessarily toxic, but I feel like if you're kind of brandishing this throughout the entire relationship, yeah, it's an issue. Because it's like, if y'all in this together, that's an issue. If you can't just be who you are, because then it's almost like it's a fictional character that you feel like you got something to prove. Nobody wants to be around anyone that feels like they have to continue to prove or throw something in your face over and over. They're like, hey, you making money, cool. Hey, you your own boss, that's great. That's why I chose you. Could think about it. We pick people who we want to be with anyway. That's why I chose you. But I already know what you represent and what you're about. You don't have to continuously like almost antagonize me about it. So the thing is, I think it can be an issue depending on how it's presented. The idea of just being independent, just the base of that, the foundation of being an independent woman, that's dope. The issue of continuing to tell me that you're an independent woman or that you're this, that's overkill. I know that. That's why I chose you. So I think that's the part that, like, man, folks need to kind of curb who, really just take a back seat to, like, you won already. You're in the relationship. You already won. There's nothing else to prove. So I think that's the part where that's the sticking point where it becomes an issue. And going back to sustainability of a relationship, that's why possibly the sustainability isn't there and those relationships don't last, because you continuously are using this as like this antagonizing tool in order to possibly demean someone, to belittle someone, to embarrass. And that's the part where I think this is downright selfish. Own who you are. I get that. We all are very confident people, but if you already in a relationship, it ain't nothing to brag about. You already won.
Tawana, we should go ahead and close us out on this one. I know you said that independent women are not toxic. Are they aggressive?
No. Independent women are not aggressive. Toxic women are aggressive. Women who don't have conflict resolution skills are aggressive. Women who don't have sufficient healthy coping mechanisms that they've learned throughout life are aggressive. Independent women are role models. They are excellent people to look up to for women in general. They are women who I aspire to be like. Like, there is no, just because you're in a relationship, the thing that is different for an independent woman is that if anything happens, she will be able to take care of herself, and she will not be a damsel in distress. An independent woman has her own mind. She knows how to navigate through life. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with having those mindsets. It does not indicate that you are not sufficient enough or you can't be a good partner. You can be a great partner and have that sense of independence, and it actually can help even enhance the relationship that you're in. So I absolutely feel like independent women get mislabeled all the time and get judged based on stereotypical views of what an independent woman should look like. And it's actually the opposite. And independent women are more willing to, partner and navigate and work in teams than a lot of women out here. So I just don't agree with that.
Hey, Anton, close us out. Are independent women aggressive?
I'm gonna keep it nice and short. I'm gonna pass on these independent women. I'm gonna take a hard pass. Let's put it like that. I think that they are overly entitled and aggressive, and they have unrealistic expectations. And I am not interested in having that conversation. I think it's a beautiful thing that we all have a choice, and I'm gonna take my choice and and go somewhere else. I'm gonna do a hard pass on these independent women.